Good evening, everybody. How the devil are we? Welcome along. Show number 2 in Football Fans, the Rivals. I'm surprised we got past the first one, unscathed, unharmed, not visiting A&E, but we're back. YouTube haven't cut us off yet. And we are here for show number 2. My little friend here is going to come in, film and say hello. Now, in fairness, I would have had a tree on the other side just to balance things out. But of course, we could be waiting here 50 years for it to grow. And when it does finally grow, my friend here will just go up and piss up it. So it's Leicester LTID, Football Fans, the Rivals. Welcome along.
It's time. Strap yourself in because we're set up, switched on and ready to go.
You are watching and listening to Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and your favourite podcasts. Till I Die TV, your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
And now, here's your host.
Right, Chris.
All right, welcome along. It is Football Fans, the Rivals. We've got him back. Some people say that he is Grout from Guardians of the Galaxy. See what I did here? Some people say that he's Dawes bitch. All we know is he's called the Dave.
Possibly either or both, Chris. I don't know. So I am Groot.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'd be, actually. I'm trying to think of a sort of a Forest connection to that. I am Trent, maybe. I don't know. I'm sort of...
I am shit. Come on.
Bearing in mind my personality, it's a possibility, mate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm still sort of wrestling with this image in my mind that you had of a fox urinating on a tree, and my first thought was that mighty oaks have gone from acorns to maturity in the time it's taken us to get back to the top flight. You know what I mean? So yeah. That enters the tumble dryer of my head now and probably sort of lodge there. Do you know what I mean?
When it comes to jokes, I set myself very low standards, and I very often fail to reach them. Anyway, welcome
it's the best
along.
direction to go.
Yeah, it is. In the gutter. I never get up that high, mate. Welcome along.
Thank you very much, and actually, thank you for having me back after last week's debacle.
No. I mean, I did put out what let me just read. I'm not sure, I can't remember the tweet that I actually put out, the word by word, but a Leicester and a Forest fan walk into a chat room. What could possibly go wrong?
Anything.
It's the ultimate banter show as Chris and Dave get lock horns in compost corner.
Well, I tell you what, mate. Given the problems I've had with discussing the performances of Willy Bolly against Tottenham and against Crystal Palace at the weekend, where I inadvertently, but actually slightly advertently, referred to him as Big Willy, quite a lot of Forest fans, door watchers and others, Match Day with Max fans have sort of thinking, does Dave mean it? Does Dave not mean it? You know what, Chris? I'm such a base animal. Yes, I do mean it.
Yeah. I'm sorry. When it comes to large appendixes, we have Kagla Soyuncu.
Yeah.
And we all know he's better than Harry Maguire, and he's got a big dick. I mean, you can't get any more base than that,
Yeah.
Craig is in. Good evening, sir. How are you? Welcome along.
Hey,
Look,
Craig.
we've got to talk football for a while, and then.
Oh, do we have to?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
See where it takes us after that. Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a few cul-de-sacs out there that we're going to find ourselves up
for
tonight.
sure.
But
mate.
I've got to say, well done on beating Derby's points.
Yeah, I don't think that was, let's say, a priority for Steve and our lads. But for those of us who are cognizant of these things, it was quite a big thing. So that monkey is off the back. We sort of celebrated a little bit in our own way about it as we left the City ground, or people who watched the game on the stream, they would have been happy about that. But I think the main thing, in all seriousness, was to be, off the bottom of the table. And actually, the last week or so, a draw against Brentford, an excellent League Cup win against Tottenham, where we were by far the better team.
I couldn't believe that. I thought I was seeing things.
No. We couldn't. I mean, we had 29,000 for that, Chris, or just short of 29,000, which for a League Cup tie, which is generally a sort of not a priority competition for a lot of supporters, was fantastic. And Forest were terrific on Wednesday night. We most of us sat there bemused at what we were watching, and it was just smashing. And then obviously the hope is that, the caveat to Wednesday night, Chris, is that Tottenham were unbelievably poor and bland and soulless. And I think a lot of them were thinking of Qatar rather than beating Nottingham Forest. If I'd have been a Tottenham supporter in the away end at the Bridgeford end of the City ground on Wednesday night, I would have felt betrayed. Even more betrayed than Cristiano Ronaldo believes himself to have done. So
we'll come on to him, I'm sure.
Yeah. So the thing was then, mate, it was a case of, for me personally, and I think for all of us, we kind of thought, well, let's hope we can transfer that level of performance and confidence and actually enjoyment of playing football into a game against Palace, who bring their own set of dangers, namely Wilf, Eze, Elise, Ayew, you name them. And you know what, mate? That's exactly what happened. And so we're sat here at the end of, by far the best week of our season. We are one defeat in 6, and that was to the sort of becoming runaway league leaders. We've 4 clean sheets in the last 6.
Just before you started that run, didn't you lose another game?
We lost to. Let me see. Let me rack my brains.
I think I can remind you. I can remind you.
Was it Birstall Stamford? Was it Oakham United? Was it something like that? No, it was Oadby Town. Maybe, I don't know.
I thought we were playing Notts County.
You know what, actually, Chris, and seriously about the Leicester game. I mean, as I've said before to you, and everybody tunes in of a foxy hue, as it were. Leicester were terrific that night, and Forest got what they deserved. Leicester played great football. To see James Maddison play like that, and now to see him deservedly on the plane to Qatar, you take your Forest hat off and you put your football lovers hat on, and you think James is going and he deserves it.
And it was just the same when you beat us in the FA Cup.
Deservedly
so. Did you have a shark intake of breath when James Maddison went down? I felt myself being sucked into this black hole by every England fan in the country going,
You know what, Chris? I did, mate. But what I loved was James came back out with his cap on backwards, bless him. He's proper street smart. And I love watching the lad play. And he seems a really good kid as well. Yeah, exactly like that, mate. Yeah. And he was talking to all the West Ham lads. He was probably saying to Declan, "Don't worry, mate. I'll be there. I'll be all right."
Yeah.
And actually, I think there's a fine balance to be struck between looking after players before a World Cup at this time of the year and giving full commitment to your club. And I think Brendan and the backroom staff at Leicester and James himself, I think they got it right. Some teams I don't believe have got it right. Tottenham Hotspur the other night definitely got it wrong. I mean, like Saturday, Chris, we had Brennan played. He's going with Wales. Nico came on. He's going with Wales. Remo Freuler, he will be with Switzerland. Cheku Kuyate. In fact, apart from Wayne Hennessy, who played against Tottenham on the Wednesday night and actually had nothing to do, bless him.
Yeah.
The other 4 of our World Cup boys all played on Saturday, and you wouldn't have known that they were like heading to a World Cup. They were a credit all for them. In fact, to be honest, mate, our lads have been a credit all week, and it's lovely to be able to sit here with a nice cup of Earl Grey in my dad's army mug and reflect on it. You know what I mean?
It is, but we've had this discussion on many a show on the channel, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's Forest, it's Leicester that pay the wages.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely. And do you know what, mate? There's one player in particular at Forest who certainly that night at Leicester came in for some unbelievable stick. And actually, I'm a very sympathetic, quite empathic sort of person, or try to be. I really care about our lads, and I want the best for them. I want to see the best in them and of them, you know. But against, he's here, look, he can't stay away, can he? But that night against Leicester City, I thought Renan Loddy, our left back, had a pretty poor game. And he's not really lived up to the fact that he's come from Atletico Madrid. Well, in fact, Chris, since he was left out of the Brazil squad for Qatar, he played against Tottenham on Wednesday night, played superbly, scored a fantastic goal.
Yeah.
And he was just as good on Saturday against Palace, particularly against Ayew and Ayew, because Wilf played up the middle. So, you know, it kind of goes both ways. But I think the overriding feeling I get, Chris, it's the wrong time of year for a World Cup. I kind of understand with temperatures and all this business, but it just feels like, I think the modern football fan, Prem Championship in particular, we kind of regard an international break these days as, oh, crikey, do we have to? And now we've got one of 6 weeks. Now, if this tournament was, say, you know, we finished the season sort of mid-May or whatever, FA Cup final, then 2 or 3 weeks, then we're into a World Cup, I think the anticipation would be quite heightened.
Yeah, nobody's been bothered about it. Can I just say, welcome to Mr. Dorr. A Forest fan, and I'd like to say it's a good channel, but it's a Forest channel. But do go over and check it out. Dorr on Tour says that Leicester aren't his, aren't Forest rivals, but you know, every time we come live, on he pops. You know, what can I say? You know,
he got. I think he feels, bless him, he feels he has a duty of care to his minions to make sure they're. He's just. I mean, Ben is so kind. He honestly, he's the loveliest guy. He's the most.
I tell you what, he couldn't. I went onto his channel just before I came on here. Dawn Tour was live, and I thought, "Oh, go on and give him some stick," and he wasn't even on.
He's starting with Des tonight. The mighty Des Oldham, who's a wonderful guy, fabulous thinker about football.
And we will come to your question, Terry. I promise you. But obviously, we're just talking through this.
Oh, Terry's in. Good to see him again. All the best, Terry.
You know, but you know what? I get it. It is the wrong time of the year, and it's come at the wrong time for some clubs, and it's come at the right time for others. It's probably come at the right time for Everton. It's come at the right time for West Ham, Southampton, Wolves, possibly. But for yourselves, on a good run, ourselves, you know, we've lost 1 in 6. We've only lost 2 since we beat Notts County. Sorry, Notts Forest. 4-0. But we're both on a run, and I could really do without it coming now.
Yeah, I think the trajectories of the runs, Chris, and if you like the angle of acceleration, if you like, it sounds a bit of a gobbledygook of a phrase, but I think our upturn is about sort of there, mate. I think Leicester's is much more meteoric. I think Leicester are playing. I looked at a form table actually for the last 6, and we are mid-table. We are
11th, I believe.
11th or 12th. Where I think Leicester are second or third. Yeah, third.
Good.
And
I wasn't going to mention that, but
tell you what though, for me, mate, looking in, and I know I've got to know some lovely Leicester City supporters, obviously through YouTubing and podcasting and all that kind of stuff. You know, it's like I do go back to sort of like, I don't know, 6-7 weeks ago when it was, you know, it was Brendan and Danny Ward and all this business, and the two of them, Brendan's what I love about Brendan has maintained his composure. He's maintained his dignity and his class. Yeah, he was under pressure. He knew it. He did a brilliant job to beat us, to kind of ease the pressure of it. So he could say to the Leicester fans, hey, we've given you what you want. You wanted to beat Forest. You wanted revenge for the FA Cup. I've given you that. And then I think his stewardship since the Forest game of Leicester City has been terrific. And that's Brendan. You know, I love Brendan. I think Brendan's a really good manager. And Danny Ward, mate, am I right in thinking that Danny has got the most clean sheets in the Premier League?
He's joint top. He's not there on his own. He's joint top with 6 clean sheets. Now, this is the guy that we lost to Arsenal 4-2. We lost 5-2 to Brighton, and we lost 6-2 to Spurs. I mean, in that Spurs game, it was the first time our new set-piece coach was sort of there.
Yeah.
And I think if he'd put his head in his hands, he'd have missed. He'd have dropped them. What I said the other day on one of my blogs, I said, lock him up, double his contract, double his pay, then throw away the key. And whatever he has done, I mean, you know, we said, I mean, my piece in the BBC tomorrow on the BBC website, Leicester City football page, I remember being said, and a lot of Leicester fans have said this, but I remember going to the first game, I think it was one of the first games anyway, and the guy saying to me, welcome, you've not seen you before, mate. Following Leicester's going to be a roller coaster ride. And my God, has it not over just off. But as the saying goes, scream if you want to go faster.
I can't believe is that your cap hasn't yet come off. Like, do you know what, mate? What I've got in my mind is when you make, Did you ever see when Fred Dibner went on the Big Dipper at Blackpool Pleasure Beach and his hat flew off? No. No, I did. I lived in Blackpool. Where's it gone? Like, where's it gone? Where's my cap? You know what I mean? And it flew off. But as you say, mate, Leicester's upward trajectory. I mean, I think it's funny. You see, there are certain junctures in your season. Like, I think for Leicester, it was that first half at Tottenham where you kind of thought, hang on a minute, Leicester playing some good football. Yeah, there's something to work with here. I think that for you. For us, I think it was the last 20, 25 minutes at Brighton where we've been basically battered, but somehow kept it to 0-0. And then in the last 25 minutes at Brighton, Yatesy got a bloodied nose, which he didn't want wiped off. And some of our lads then saw Yatesy's body language, like, you know, let's compete, let's get in the faces. Yeah. Forest did that. Brighton got a bit sort of stymied by, hang on a minute, these are bottom, they're newly promoted. We should be putting these away, and didn't. And we came out of the Amex. Then we beat Liverpool. But I think Chris Liverpool helped us by being utterly complacent. I thought they were really.
You can only beat who's in front of you, and you beat. Well, like I said at the time, you did a job. You did what you had to do. You know.
And I do think that then we went to Arsenal, and Arsenal were the complete polar opposite of Liverpool because Mikel Arteta. I think what Forest did going to Arsenal, they set themselves up because obviously they beat Liverpool. So Arteta and his boys will have watched that, and Arteta, being Arteta, would have said, don't you dare take Nottingham Forest lightly. And Arsenal didn't. They paid us the greatest respect by destroying us. And then, hey, we love you. We're going to murder you. Thank you very much. And then the other thing, obviously, which kind of Leicester will understand is that, you know, we beat Arsenal in the Cup last year, and Arteta, I'm sure, will have said to those that played at the City Ground in that 1-0 loss, do you want to kind of let these get away with it again? So I always felt we would get beat at Arsenal, but not by that sort of cricket score.
You see, for me, the turning point in our season, and good evening to Hayden, by the way, was basically the Forest game, because
Yeah.
It didn't matter whether we performed well. It didn't matter whether we were bloody awful and you had 30 shots to our 1 and we won 1-0 off Vardy's arse. It didn't matter. The thing with that one was the result. Because obviously with what had gone on before with, the FA Cup match, when you totally outplayed us and you deserve that. But, also with the start we'd had, and it was a case of, right, this is Forest, this is time for revenge. We're quite lucky that it's a cup game and we've got, you've come up so we can get revenge if possible quite early. Yeah. But we got the performance as well. Now the performance against Everton a couple of weeks ago was a better performance.
Yeah.
But the Nottingham Forest game, and probably it's respect to you, the Nottingham Forest game meant more.
Well, do you know what, Chris? I think you're absolutely right, mate. I think what helped Leicester that night was obviously the recent history. But I also think it helped Leicester the fact that it was on a Monday night at the King Power, and it was almost like Leicester wanted the spotlight on them. They wanted that game to stand out. I think if that game had been played at like 3:00 on a Saturday afternoon, I'm not quite sure it would have the same. Do you know? It felt like a cup final. And actually, Chris, listening to you speak, and I totally agree with everything. I think it was a watershed moment for Leicester City, definitely. A huge watershed moment for Leicester City. But in its way, now I think about it, while I'm talking about what happened at Brighton, the defeat at Leicester was equally a watershed moment for Nottingham Forest Football Club, because what happened was, and particularly at the end of the game, I mean, there were watershed moments within that watershed moment. Taiwo, one new shot goes in instead of coming back off the post before Leicester had taken the lead. You never know. I mean, Leicester were the better side. Don't get me wrong. But then at the end of the game, we were in our corner of the King Power, and our lads came over, understandably sheepish because they'd been outplayed, outclassed, and had been poor. Basically, they kind of came sheepishly over. They got a relatively sympathetic reaction, but then Steve came over, and Steve got a raucous reaction. And I think that the supporters that night of Nottingham Forest basically made up Evangelos Marinakis' mind about, what do we do about Steve Cooper? 3 days later, kind of against the expectations of many, certainly a lot of tricky trees, he got the contract. And actually, Chris, since the Leicester City game, if you take out the Arsenal game as a bit of an aberration, but that's against the league leaders, what Forest have become is they've become much, much harder to beat, much harder. And, as I say, 4 clean sheets in the last 6. And here we are now. Forest are going to go unbeaten for the best part of 2.5 months in the Premier League. Which, but then so are Leicester City. So I think what's lovely.
That's a bit like saying Northern Ireland are champions of Britain because they won the last home nations, and it
is, mate. Yeah, so I think that actually for both of us, mate, for you and for me as a representative of Forest, and which I take pretty seriously actually, and I've actually had some people come up and say some lovely things. Say thanks for representing us, Dave. You do it in a really nice way, and that's really important for me. I'm not going to come on here and be salty and offensive and insulting.
No, you leave that to Door, don't you?
Yeah, he's bless him. The great man is much more versed in the dark arts than I am, But no, as I say, mate, for Leicester, I mean, I watched the highlights of Saturday's game at West Ham, and Leicester were irresistible. I mean, James scores his goal beautifully, left foot. He gets a chance. He's done his bit. He's done his cameo. But I tell you what, I thought Harvey Barnes was terrific, mate. And he's another. I love Harvey. I watched Harvey when he was on loan at West Brom and was really impressed. And I've seen him interviewed a couple of times on the TV recently, and he comes across as a really smart, decent young man. And I think,
he is, yeah.
I think in 4 years' time, and is it in America, Mexico, and Canada, whatever? I think he'll be playing for England then. I think he's that good, Harvey Barnes. Really good.
I think he was on the cusp. I think possibly this time, but
he was.
It's before I get on, I'll come on to the Leicester game in a second. But I just want to make a point. Harry says there, and your manager, as in Steve Cooper, has equally held his head high. Yeah. And we did say about. I said it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And the reason that and let me just show you this because nobody ever believes me, and as much as I want Forest to get relegated, I'm not going to deny it. It would be nice, just as I'm sure you would if you'd want Leicester to go down. But this was my predictions at the start of the season.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So I've put Forest there in 15th, and the reason that I put Forest in 15th was Steve Cooper.
Yeah.
Just the reason that I put Bournemouth in 19th was Scott Parker. But
they could get Bielsa soon, Chris.
Well, there's rumours, isn't there? But Steve Cooper, brilliant manager. You've given him that contract when you were at your lowest possibly.
Yeah.
You've signed a lot of players. In that way, has the World Cup gone good for you? Because it's going to give a chance that those players that haven't gone to the World Cup can actually maybe do a bit of bonding.
Do you know what, mate? I think for Forest, there are two facets, if you like. One is that it would be nice to kind of continue this little gradual, gentle upturn. But I think given the speed of events and the compressed nature of time from May the 29th, and that we've had the least preparation of any team to come into this division. That's no disrespect to the other 19.
No, you do. As Premier, and we've been there as playoff winners. You've got less time than anybody to prepare.
Yeah, and the reality, Chris, which seemingly certain sections of the media either couldn't grasp or didn't want to grasp because it didn't suit their narrative, was that the team that won at Wembley, with some exceptions, Yatesy, Joe, Brennan, I suppose Brice Sambra if he'd stayed, but obviously Brice wanted to go and make family life in France, which is fair enough because family does come before football occasionally. The bulk of the team that won at Wembley, Chris, if we were being completely pragmatic about things, wasn't going to be good enough to survive in the Premier League. So it had to be done. What Forest said, it was never done. What irritated me, Chris, was it was seen as like Forest being too big for their boots, overstretching themselves, having this vain idea of what they are. Yeah, we've got a great history, but that's a long time ago, and you cannot live in the past. So it was necessity, mate, because Zinkernagel, Spence, Davis, Garner, and Lowe, who was so instrumental in getting us up, they were never our players, so they had to go back. So we were kind of forced into it, and I think we've actually, on reflection, and with the benefit of hindsight, which is always an exact science, I think we've got to this point for us to be not bottom of the table. It is a really smashing little achievement, only a small one, but it's a good one. You know what I mean? The other side of it, as you allude to correctly, is that apart from the 5 who are going, Steve and the rest of the lads, I do know for a fact they're going to have a break. Steve said to him, "You need to get away from football for a bit." He said, they need to get away from me, right? That's Steve Cooper. That's that self-awareness. So I think the break for the ones remaining will be a good thing. And I think it's good for Chris, let's make no bones about it, mate. 2022 has been the best year in Nottingham Forest history since 1997-98. Yeah. We've had mediocrity and underachievement. It's been a byword, sacking after sacking after sacking, ridiculous, mate. So 2022 has been an incredible year for us. Even despite where we are now, I mean, to be in the Premier League from where we were is astonishing, right? Yeah. But I think what's good is to take some time now to reflect, to kind of take a breath, and then sort of like, it's kind of like a new pre-season. Been given a new pre-season for the ones that are remaining. Leicester will have the same. So we can then sort of get ready for Blackburn away at Christmas.
Yeah. Oh, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean,
can I just say that I have put the 18 sign up in the top corner. So that anybody, I forgot, I should have put that up at the start. I do feel we've covered ourselves. We've started after the watershed.
Is that because we're going to discuss Willy Bolly? And I might say,
well,
exactly,
William. Exactly. And I've got to bring our special guest in. There we go.
What a player! What a smashing lad!
What a player!
I'm Forest, but I love that guy. He's a grand lad and he's a superb player.
You kiss away there. You kiss away there, mate.
Tell you what, mate. I tell you what, Chris. It's a good academy that Coventry City have got, is it not? Because both him and Callum are on the plane to Qatar.
Yeah.
Fair play to the pair of them, mate.
You can't knock it. You can't knock it. Moving on, because it's been half an hour now that we've been talking. So that first half hour is the Leicester Forest talk. Now we can move on and take the piss out of all the other teams that we don't like. Manchester United. Surely they've got to get rid of Ronaldo now, haven't they?
Absolutely.
Chris,
I'm not scathing, or try not to be scathing about many people in life generally. But that ego. The more I see of Eric Ten Hag, and the more I see him kind of like soothing Cristiano's fragile ego, but at the same time taking him down a peg or two, I really like Eric Ten Hag. I was sat there. It's funny. I took the old man to have new hearing aids this afternoon, right?
Pardon?
And he says to me, "Come back and have a cup of tea with us."
All right.
Yeah, the old boy's hearing aids have stopped working. They're out of date, so I had to go and take him to. And he said, come back and have a cup of tea with us." As soon as we get in the house, me and him sit down, because my dad just watch it. My mum and dad just watch like Sky Sports Rolling News, and there's you know who, and my dad goes, "What a big girl's blouse he is," you know what I mean? And I tell you what, Chris, he's the. I don't have a problem at all with Lionel Messi. I love Lionel Messi. Like I never had a problem with Johan Cruyff or Franz Beckenbauer or Pele or even Maradona. But Cristiano Ronaldo, the stats tell me he's a great player.
Problem with Maradona.
Yeah. But I tell you what, with Cristiano Ronaldo, where I just got really angry on behalf of Manchester United supporters. That night that they beat Tottenham so well in the league, they were excellent. United played some really good football. The glory and the limelight should have been on those boys that did Manchester United proud and Eric Ten Hag. But no, it was stolen from them. It was mugged from them by him flouncing down the touchline like a Strictly Come Dancing contestant, mate. Craig Revel-Horwood would have given him 0. Do you know what I mean? It was appalling. And then to go and do this. And to go and speak to Piers Morgan of all people, I mean, it's just ludicrous, mate.
They have got history, those two. But
tiresome beyond belief, mate.
Apparently, whether it was him or his agent, but they contacted Piers. He didn't contact them.
Right.
To me, no player is bigger than any club. But
Absolutely.
Ronaldo thinks he is.
Yeah.
And I just... Eric Ten Hag, I do like him. I think he's going to be the manager that, given time in the Arteta way, 3 or 4 seasons, that he'll turn things around.
Yeah.
I don't think he's a yes man.
No, he's not.
But I think Ronaldo is causing a lot of problems at Man United. That
they should never have signed him, Chris. I think he's right. He's been a cuckoo in that nest for too long. Now, I've watched United games and Jadon Sancho or Marcus Rashford or Anthony Elanga or one of the younger players makes a mistake, that tyrant is right on their case. But if he makes a mistake, he has no humility. He doesn't. I'm sure he does great work of charity outside of football, and I'm sure there are different sides to a character. But I've watched him, and I think that let's give it some context. Dean Henderson, when he joined us, he gave an interview in a more official channel than some right-wing gobshite like Piers Morgan, who's just out for clickbait. An appalling man, in my view.
I quite like him, but
no, I'm not a fan. So anyway, but Dean Henderson gave an interview, and he was asked about Manchester United team was, and we all watched it, and we all sort of agreed that any bridge back to Old Trafford has just been blown sky high. So what Dean did isn't on the scale of this. So if I'm Eric Ten Hag, when Manchester United meet Nottingham Forest at 8:00 on the 27th of December, my view is that he will not be at that club. And he certainly won't play against us. We want him to play against us because we think he's slow and he's a man struggling to deal with his own decline.
Do you think United, I mean, you touched on this, do you think United bought him because they didn't want Manchester City to buy him?
No, I don't believe that, Chris. What I disagree with. My take on Cristiano Ronaldo and Manchester City and Manchester United is that him and his agent went to the Etihad one sunny morning, met Pep and whoever, Sheikh Mansour's representatives, whatever. Yeah. And Pep went, sorry, mate. I want lads who've got humility, who fit into a team structure and don't think they're bigger than the club. I mean, Pep would have been more diplomatic than that. But Pep, I think, made it pretty clear, like, sorry, mate. Nah, don't want you. And I got it in my head that the agent and Cristiano Ronaldo came out the door, stood in the car park at the Etihad, looked at each other, and Ronaldo said to his agent, well, that didn't go very well. Shall we try that lot over there? I just think that I always thought it was the worst signing United could have made, because United, what he did, he undermined Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who is a fine man, a good football man, a decent football man. He undermined Ralph Rangnick, who is so intellectual and academic as to be actually, what's he doing bothering his time with being a football manager? Go and find a cure for cancer. Ralph Rangnick is an incredibly intelligent man.
Yeah.
And there'd be Ronaldo. Oh, I'm bored with this. So you've got this kind of elephant in the room that everybody could actually see. Normally you can't see the elephant in the room. But it's right there. And I just think that it was the worst sign in Manchester United. Whether they did it for shirt sales or whatever, I don't know. But if I'd have been a Red Devil, I would not have wanted him. And I just think he's skewed everything that's gone on at Manchester United. So he has to go. And I mean, the thing is, I watched little Garnacho come on and score yesterday against Fulham. Now, I saw that kid, Chris, play for the United under-18s against our under-18s in the Youth Cup final at Old Trafford back in May, I think it was, in front of 69,000. It's an amazing night, actually. Our kids lost 3-1, but played some really good football and were well in the game. But the reason they didn't win it was Alejandro Garnacho. So when I see that kid coming on, I know he's got some issues apparently off the field, but to see a kid like that, he gave me the impression he really wanted to play for Manchester United. Well, let's put it like this, Chris. Not even Brian Clough was bigger than Nottingham Forest, right? Not even Brian. Not even Claudio Ranieri after he won the league. Claudio was, a Leicester City god for what he did. But Claudio was never bigger than Leicester. And the beauty of Claudio was he never ever believed himself. Claudio was I love Claudio Ranieri.
Yes, yeah. He had to go when he went, but
yes.
And we have to, I mean, I always say this when we talk about Claudio, just as a caveat, he built the tower block, but it was built on Nigel Pearson's foundations. But
I'd agree with that.
I got asked in the chat we did earlier whether I would take Ronaldo at Leicester, and I was like 1,000% no.
Yeah,
that's the Ronaldo of now. And when you look at the team that won the Premier League for Leicester, reminds me very much of the Arsenal team of now. Remind me very much of that. Is that there was no big names.
No, exactly.
Possibly when it started to go wrong was when we'd actually won the damn thing, and then we were getting the likes of slump. That's it, by the way. Just in case you're wondering what it is. But
the actual one, Chris.
Sorry,
is that the actual one? Is it?
Oh, you know when the World Cup went missing.
I'm going to send Pickles to find it, mate.
It did. Well, where my pickles are, you're not going to find out. But there's no big names. Slimani came in afterwards, 30 million, most expensive player on a huge sum, and maybe it kind of split that band of brothers up. But I do like, as I say, Arsenal at the moment. You don't need these big name stars because they do come in and they do disrupt the team and the bond, if you like, between them.
And do you know what, mate? You make a great point about that Leicester City team that won the league. It had charm. and it engaged all the neutrals. I remember when Tottenham and Chelsea drew that in that sort of massacre at Stamford Bridge that night. And I'm a Forest fan, but to me, what I got stuck in my head, and all the Leicester people tuning in know this for a fact, all that was stuck in my head was 5,000 to 1. The greatest figure maybe in football history, right? 5,000 to 1. And that night when Leicester City won the league, me, a Nottingham Forest supporter, I was leaping around the room, because the way I looked at it, it's a story that gives hope to everybody who supports the club of out of our relative sizes. And you're dead right. There were no stars in that team, and they all worked for each other. Similarly, when our lads won the league way back under Brian in 77, 78, we were very similar. And I think, you get these teams that have the most charming teams are those. I mean, when Wimbledon, when they won the FA Cup, they had no stars. They had some right characters, but no stars. And I think Leicester,
it's a story of its time, and a lot of people, and Carragher on Sky Sports, love him or hate him, he said when we won it that clubs have done it before, having come up. Yeah. Obviously referring to Forest. Yeah. But it was different times, different, the structure. But let's not, and I love football. I banter with Forest, of course I do. I banter with Derby. I banter with Coventry. I don't see Villa as. This is why I like having Forest back, because it's a proper rival. I'm not. To me, Coventry are the bigger rivals.
From your side, maybe not from mine.
No, well, exactly. But but the thing is, who else are you going to banter with?
Yeah,
are you going to banter with Wolves? I don't think so.
At your service, mate.
Yeah, exactly. No, but what I'm saying is, though, sort of for Forest, we are the best thing for you, because you can banter with us. Because
absolutely, man.
Yeah, for sure. We're not your main rivals, but we're certainly in the top three. Yeah. But it was different times when it happened, and I watch it, and I like football. And what Brian Clough achieved at your club was nothing short of a miracle. To go. Okay, I mean, I think the thing with Forest was, I think you came up and won it. Did you win it the first season you were up, or was it two?
I tell you what happened, Chris. I vivid memories of it. We came up in those days. There were no playoffs, obviously, and it was 2 points. It was 2 points for winning in Division 2 as it was then. And what happened was that Chelsea and Wolves were already up, and we were going for the third spot with Bolton Wanderers, and Forest had finished their fixtures. And we're on the plane to Calamayor with Brian. And while Forest were flying to Spain, and it was a quirk in those days, you would get you'd have the end of the season, but then you might have one or two fixtures beyond the end of the season, which you don't now. Yeah. Or you very rarely do now. And the quirk that year was that Wolves, who were already up and had nothing to play for, had to play Bolton Wanderers at Burnden Park, right? And Burnden was like bursting at the seams, probably not been so full since Nat Lofthouse's day, Yeah. And Wolves were 1-0. Bolton were basically battering them all game. Wolves won 1-0. Forest were in the air. I don't know if it was radioed from East Midlands Airport or wherever they took off from, but somebody told the pilot, who then broadcast it to the plane, many congratulations to our passengers, Nottingham Forest, you've been promoted to the First Division. Wow. Which and I tell you what, mate, my dad was on the scouting staff at Forest that year. He was for a number of years, my dad, actually. And he went to earlier in that season, he went to a scouts conference at the City Ground or in Nottingham somewhere, and he went to a match on Saturday.
When you're saying scouts here, you mean football scouts, not dib dib dib.
Yeah, not dib 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 and all that dob dob. No. Ginganguli, none of that. No, there were no.
He wasn't getting his woggle out. I would just think you never know.
No. Father kept his woggle to himself. He was very particular about his woggle, Chris.
Oh, good.
We've had some kicks, Forest have in the Gingangulis over the last 20 odd years. But that year, my dad went to this match on the Saturday afternoon at the City Ground, and Forest played Wolves, and Wolves won 3-1. I think it was the Wolves of Kenny Hibbett, Steve Kindon, John Richards. Really good side, actually. Yeah. Willie Carr played, I think. And I remember my dad coming back. And I said to my dad, as a little lad, I'll be about 11 or 12 or something like that at the time. What Forest like, Dad? We don't win. Hopeless. They'll never go up. He said, I wouldn't pay him in washers. Useless. He also said, they've got a fat guy out on the left-hand side, a bloke called Robertson. Oh, he's terrible. Because, everything went the way my dad didn't see it. But we then came up third. Our first game in the first division was Everton at Goodison. And Everton battered Forest for about half an hour. I remember listening to Martin O'Neill saying that the Forest lads, Burns, Lloyd, With, McGovern, etc., we're all looking at each other thinking, my God, 9 months of this, we'll never survive. Yeah. But then what happened? Withy scored, Chris. Forest won 3-1. And then they kind of got on a run, a bit like Leicester did when Leicester won the league. And Forest only lost 3 games that year. They lost to Arsenal, Leeds, and Chelsea, I think. And the loss to Arsenal was early in the season. So, Forest got on a run. And it was a bit like that with Leicester. What I loved about Leicester, there was this lovely jeopardy about Leicester thinking, surely this is the week where I wasn't wanting it. I didn't want it, actually. Because we were in a different division, I kind of felt like clear to want Leicester to win it. And I think anybody who loves romance in football and doesn't want an hegemony of top massive clubs, it's like the Champions League. We get the same teams every year, and it grates. So for me, I wanted Leicester to win it just for somebody completely different and somebody who was unheralded. In fact, I read the book that followed it. It was something like, I think it was called Fearless. And it was fantastic.
Oh, there's so many books. That's the weird thing when I picked a book. I think I've got most of them here. I think it was
I can believe
5,000 to 1 or something. But and you're opening it up and you suddenly read your quote in that book, and I'm like, wow. But,
it's amazing.
So did you come up? So when you got promoted, did you win the league that season or the following season?
No, we got promoted. We were third in the first division, in the second division, 76, 77. We were champions the very next season, which is miraculous.
So it was same as us then. Same as us, your second season. But I think it was different times, and there wasn't sort of the so-called big six or, the money that was in it. But you still going on. To me, the bigger thing for yourself was winning the European Cup and then going back and doing it the following year.
Yeah. I mean, that season we got, what you have to remember, Chris, is, and I'm lucky than a lot of Forest. The Forest kids who go and support Forest now, I feel so sorry for them. They weren't able to enjoy those halcyon days, if you like. So that's why Wembley this year is so brilliant. It's great for me. But it's better for our young uns. So they've got something they can go to school and they can say, hey, we did this, that, and the other. Now they're in the Premier League. But back in that season when we got promoted, what's truly remarkable is we won the league and only lost 3 games. We won the League Cup. We beat Liverpool after a replay at Old Trafford, having been battered in the first game at Wembley. And then we got to the quarterfinals of the FA Cup before a very good Cyril Regis-inspired West Brom knocked us out. So from being third up, we're all of a sudden we were going for everything. You know what I mean? But I just think, as you say, in that time of English football, really Liverpool were dominant above all. It was Liverpool, and then you were kind of hoping that somebody would challenge them. I think now there's this little cabal at the top, and for any of us to break into that cabal, what it takes immense finance, I think, and that's why Newcastle, to me, are looking like the club that might break into that little exclusive set of teams. But it's taking enormous finance to do it. So what Leicester did, I thought Leicester in many ways were very similar to Forest in that, like you say, they had no stars, but goodness did they win, and they had charm. They had a lot of charm. They were, you've got your best strikers come from Stockbridge Steels, Halifax Town to Fleetwood Town to Leicester City. And I tell you what,
the other day, first of all, I just want to say good night to Ian. Ian's got to go, so good night, Ian.
All the best, Ian.
To Just Jameson, no advertising, please. If you want to advertise, send me some money and we'll come to an agreement. But no advertising that you're doing there. I'm sorry, mate. Well, I'm not sorry. You just don't do advertising on somebody else's channel. Somebody said that you bought the first £1 million player in Trevor Francis.
Indeed.
We bought the first £1 million player from the non-leagues. All right.
Was that Jamie?
Yeah,
was it?
Yeah. I mean, in fact, when we bought him, well, it was one of those because he was playing for Fleetwood and they just got promoted to the 4th tier, the League 2. But they hadn't kicked off yet. So technically he was still a non-league player. So it was big news because he was the first £1 million player from the non-league. So there's a lot of symmetry between the two clubs, which is scary.
Yeah, there is.
But
I tell you what, you've got
players went and did absolutely great for the clubs.
Yeah, and I tell you what, mate, you've had a really good return on your investment for Jamie.
The thing was, but the thing is, of course, it nearly didn't. I mean, this is the guy who was playing football with a ring on his, a police thing around his ankle.
Tag.
Tag, yeah. This is the, this is the guy that before he goes on against Everton, he sat there drinking a Red Bull in the substitute dugout.
Yeah,
but he so nearly didn't. Mate, he so nearly walked away from it. He was going to be a rep in Ibiza or something, and he would have had a party, wouldn't he? Let's be honest. But but it was again Kun Fichai that put his arm around him and said, "Stay." So I just give a quick hang on, Turf's on a promise. He said, just popping in before going to bed. Hey, Kate. Yeah, we know. Have a good time. That's
Chris, can I just say,
the prize for winning against Blackburn, was it?
Yeah. That will have given him some put some lead in his pencil, I think. Let's put it like that. So let me just say to Turf Morehouse TV, you're a better man than I am, mate. Let me just put it like that.
Can I just say, just sidetrack? I did the watch along. I did actually. I don't know if you can retweet it at all, Dan. I did send it to you. I did the watch along for the Burnley Blackburn game. Burnley, my God, if that squad are going to come back up to the Premier League. There's no doubt about it. And watching them, they're going to be better than 5 or 6 teams that are in that Premier League already.
We might be one of those.
But Blackburn. How the hell did they get to 3rd? But, well done, mate. Well done to Burnley. You played well.
Can I just ask then? So, actually, that's interesting because obviously Blackburn Rovers are Forest's next opponents. So, I guess but it's at Ewood. So, I think that changes the dynamic a bit.
Blackburn did well in their League Cup game.
Yeah, they did beat West Ham. Yeah, they played very well.
Shame West Ham fans,
I think with Blackburn, Chris, a lot of it is Ben Brereton Diaz based. I think.
Sorry, I'm just. Dan is still hungover from celebrating last night. Put it this way: talk about having a midweek semi. I don't think he could even get a semi at the moment. I think he'd be more like a quarter.
No wonder Burnley. I tell you what, everybody connected with Burnley seems to be doing well. If that's anything to go by.
Yes, yeah.
It's the Vincent Company
well done
effect.
to Burnley. I was just absolutely. They've got a couple of players there that are going to absolutely set the Premier League alight, and they've got a manager that's going to do that. As well.
Yeah, look, Vincent.
Talking of which, let's move on. As we're talking about Burnley coming up, and like I say, fantastic job that they did against. Blackburn were embarrassing. Blackburn were totally one shot all game. I mean, you're 3rd in the division. It's like. And it's a derby again, and I'm saying, their fans must be going, for fuck's sake, this is Burnley we're playing, and you put in a performance like that.
Yeah.
Totally embarrassing. Who's going to go down, do you think?
What, from the Premier League?
Yes.
Well, do you know what, mate? If you'd asked me, I was asked that question on a podcast. 12 Football's 12-man podcast, which I absolutely love doing with fans of other clubs. And we had this discussion, and I said, well, at the moment the favourite to go down are Nottingham Forest. They have to be. They're bottom. They're not playing particularly well. They don't keep the ball well enough. There doesn't seem to be, it's still taking time to knit together. But I'm beginning to think that what I've seen this last couple of weeks, Chris, Forest, and I've seen tweets from Crystal Palace fans since Saturday, where they've said, the atmosphere in the City Ground, Chris, was amazing at the weekend. The fans were fantastic. There are pockets of Cooper out. It's not complete unanimity across the board, but I'm telling you, there was unanimity behind Steve in the ground on Saturday. But what I've seen definite emergence of certain, like Jesse Lingard, been excellent the last 2 games. Morgan is beginning to sort of justify the fee, and there's a lot to like about Forest. So I think what I would say about Forest before I move on to the others, Forest have shown to me that 17th by the skin of our teeth or tips of our fingers isn't an impossibility. It is doable. I fear for Southampton, I have to say. I'm not a great fan of Nathan Jones. He didn't really endear himself to us last year with certain comments. And I live like about 4 or 5 miles from Stoke-on-Trent, Chris. And if you go into Stoke-on-Trent and mention the name Nathan Jones, you'll get laughed at, right? Because he did nothing at Stoke. He was a sacked in the morning job every week at Stoke. Now, Southampton, I think, have taken a real chance there. In fact, if you ask me, would you want Ralph Hasenhüttl or Nathan Jones? I'd take Ralph any day of the week. I really would.
Wasn't so long ago I was saying that. I mean, Mike has gone for Wolves, Saints, and yourselves, obviously.
That's good. I mean, you know what? Mike's got a point, Chris.
Yeah.
Because we're newly promoted. We've all these new players.
Yeah, a lot of
the
people.
logic suggests
the way
but actually,
started for you.
The Burnley Lothario there, the love machine from Turf Moor, Mr. Morehouse there. Those are the 3 I think will go.
Possibly,
I really do.
Quite possibly, he might get something right for once. He's not the best at predictions. I'm going to be honest with you.
Well, maybe this headache he's got, Chris, has cleared his mind and organised it.
He gets beaten by his wife, who up until this season had no interest. Sorry, his partner, who up until this season had no interest in football. He gets beat by her every season in the prediction league.
She beats him. How do you mean she beats him? What, physically or?
Well, he'd like to, but no, she gets more correct than he does. Dan says here, 1 shot on target in the derby for 6 years. And as I said, that'll be you tonight, Dan. You'll have 1 shot. Make sure it counts, mate.
I'd like a shot at Derby, but that's going to take a while yet. You know what I mean?
I think it is. For me, I mean, this was who I said, again, let's just bring this back up. This is who I said at the start of the season was going to be Southampton, Leeds and Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth could fall into that. I seriously do. They are in they've depending what they do with the manager, because they had started to struggle. They've had a couple of wins again now, but of course, who knows?
Did they get lucky, Chris, by meeting? Did they get lucky, Chris, by being given Everton twice in a week? Because I think Everton are just the blandest team. Without Calvert-Lewin, who I really like, actually, they are pretty woeful.
I'm surprised. I think when the Premier League kicks off again on Boxing Day, that Everton may not have Lampard in charge.
I think you could be right, mate. I do. I mean, I tell you what, Chris, their supporters who were amazing last year and I think the supporters at Goodison kept Everton in the Premier League last year more than Frank did and more than the team did. They were amazing. They made such noise.
Yeah.
But if you're a Scouser,
let me just say though, the reason that the reason that Everton stayed in the Premier League last season was thanks to Leicester, because they'd won once away all season until they came to Leicester with about 4 games to go, and they beat us at the King Power. So
But I think if you're a Blue from Liverpool and you've travelled to Bournemouth twice in a week and seen 4-1 and 3-0, I can understand why they're throwing their shirts and throwing the expletives around. And I think Frank is in. I mean, what I see with Everton, they've hung around in the Premier League just sort of gradually getting lower and lower, and then all of a sudden you get this sense with certain teams that they smell of relegation, and I just feel that about Everton. And Everton have got to be very careful. They're building a brand new stadium down by the dock, and they might be christening that in the Championship. So
good clubs have done that ourselves. Our first season in what was then the Walkers was in the second tier. So I fear for Everton. I do.
Everton and Southampton.
I get to the point, and I don't know about you, but do you remember Wigan? How they always just managed to stay up.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, for fuck's sake, just go down.
Do you know what, mate? I'm going to cheer you up now, because back in the day when the Premier League started, it was always Coventry City that did that. And I went, oh, for God's sake, Coventry, go away. The charm of Keith Houchin and Schnoz and George Curtis, that's gone now. Go away, Coventry City. And it was the same with Wigan, mate. They, a stadium that's half empty, full only for rugby league, half empty, and they got like awful kits, and it was all a bit secondhand. And I was glad Wigan went down. You know what I mean? You'd see a Premier League game at the DW, whatever it was, and it was half empty, and it was more like a non-league match. Can
I just say that as well that Coventry deserved to go down purely for that brown strip?
Oh God, yes, I remember it. I went to. You know what, mate? I saw Derby many years ago. A mate of mine was a big Derby fan, and he said he got a ticket. So
really? And you still friends
honestly,
with him?
Yeah. He's currently in a home for the bewildered now, and he has 24-hour care, bless him. So I went with him, and Coventry City ran out, and all the Derby fans all afternoon were singing "Brown shit on the pitch, tra la 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 la." There's brown shit on the pitch, tra la la. And you and what I remember is like the most boring footballer I ever saw in my life. But he's probably a lovely fella, and I don't mean him any harm at all. I don't mean anybody apart from Ronaldo. Brian Roberts was playing right back for Coventry. Brian Roberts, he was Mr. Star Soccer, and they were in that brown kit, and it was just like, oh, go away, you know what I mean? But this time, Everton to me smell of relegation. Southampton smell of relegation, and then the other two I think that come in. I think Bournemouth are still not out of it. Fulham. Man, no, I watched Fulham yesterday. I thought Fulham played well.
I think Fulham are safe. I mean,
I do. Yeah, Palhinha is outstanding. But I think then it's Wolves and Leeds. Now Leeds have put two great wins together. Then they were up at Tottenham and they got beat. That's a hurtful defeat for Leeds. I think. Right, I'm going to answer Russ's question. I don't think Leeds will go. I think Leeds will be all right. I think it'll be Wolves. But obviously that depends on Lopetegui, Southampton and Everton. We're still in the mix. I'm going to answer Russ's question by saying, look, Forest are in the mix as well, mate. So I'll say that before I start. But I watched Leeds against Fulham when they lost, and I worried for Leeds. But then I watched Leeds at Liverpool, and Leeds were brilliant at Liverpool.
The thing I think with Leeds for me is that they beat Bournemouth when they were sort of 3-1 down, was it, or something?
Yeah.
And Bournemouth were very much naive because it's their first season back here. Leeds is third season, but they can't keep doing that. They can't keep giving teams the lead all the time. Let's face it, Jesse March, up until 2 or 3 games ago, was a dead man walking.
Yeah.
And now he's got them to, I mean, where are they in the league? I mean, the 16th, so they are dragging down. I mean, Russ, this is where, I'm sorry, mate, this is where I put you at the start of the season. And that was based purely on last season's performance. You up and down like a bride knickers on the wedding night, as I like to say. Sometimes you're going up to 10th, 11th, then you're down to 14th, 15th. Will you stay up? I think you will. And that's
I think Leeds will stay up, mate. I think Leeds will stay up.
I think so, because there's worse clubs. There's worse clubs. I think Forest will stay up. I think Wolves will go down. I think Southampton will go down. Yeah. And I think Everton, if they don't fit their idea, will go down. But there are 2 or 3 that are in the mix. Yeah,
Bournemouth still. I think Villa are all right now. I think Leicester are all right now. Forget them; they're going to be mid-table sides. I think. I watched Leeds at Liverpool, and that night, Chris, I wanted Liverpool to beat Leeds, to keep Leeds within striking distance
Yes.
of us and the rest. But after about 10 minutes of Liverpool's arrogance and dismissal of Leeds, when Leeds took the lead with that daft goal that Joe Gomez got the assist for, and I wanted Leeds to win, which was kind of the logic suggested I wouldn't want them to, but I thought Leeds were terrific. And the thing is, what Forest and Leeds have got is Forest have got the City Ground and Leeds have got Ellen Road, and they can like really generate an atmosphere. And I think that Goodison generated atmosphere at the end of last season, but the way Everton are playing, I think Everton almost need to go down to kind of clear the decks, ownership, players also.
I always say that we would not be where we are now had we not gone down to the third tier. Because we brought Pearson in, who, funnily enough, kept Southampton up on the last day of the previous season and sent us down. And then Southampton got rid of him. How did that work out for you, Southampton? But we got Pearson. He came in. He cleared the decks and started again. And sometimes you do have to take a step backwards to come forward. But as Terry says here, I mean, I did the watch along for the Forest Liverpool game. And I said to the Liverpool fan, and I was doing it on a Liverpool channel, Doug. I called him One Job Doug after that, because I wanted him to obviously beat Forest and keep you down there because we were down there. Yeah. And then the same with Leeds, like you say, I wanted Leeds to be kept down within the relegation battle, and he lost to Leeds, so he became two job Doug. I said, and he only stopped becoming three job Doug by one lucky penalty. The last minute against Derby, shootout against Derby. But Terry makes the point there. My fear is our next two games, and we touched on this before we came in. Our next two games, Newcastle and Liverpool, lose them, and us and Forest are neck and neck again near the bottom.
Well, let me tell Terry. Terry makes a good point. He makes a lot of good points, but if it's Newcastle and Liverpool for Leicester, what you have to think about, you won't be neck and neck because Forest play Manchester United away and Chelsea at home on New Year's Day. So if Leicester's fixtures next to and Forest next to, I'd almost say they're kind of like parallel in difficulty.
I think you could get something at United because they are iffy. They turn up against the big teams. They're always against, the smaller teams. No disrespect, I would include Leicester in that. But when I'm saying the big teams, the games they've won. I think you could certainly get a point there, I believe. And I think you could beat Chelsea. I think Chelsea are very beatable by anybody in this division at the moment.
Yeah, I think the way I was asked the question, in fact, I was on with Dore last night and I said that...
Never mind. You can get a cream for it.
We did have a good laugh, actually. But I kind of feel that we'll get beat at Old Trafford. I think we could go there, play well, but get beat. But I do think we can beat Chelsea. Now, Newcastle and Liverpool, what you've got, Liverpool have got issues to address because they've made by their standards, a pretty mediocre start to the season. Newcastle, Newcastle are just, playing such wonderful football. Newcastle, if you're a neutral, the one team you want to go and watch this year are Newcastle United. They've been... what's lovely for me, Chris, about Newcastle is I went to St James's first game of the season where the Forest supporters were given an amazing welcome. It was a cracking day, a football experience. And obviously that day, Newcastle gave Forest a bit of a lesson about what it's like to be in the Premier League. They won 2-0, but they could have won by a lot more. Bruno Guimaraes was absolutely sublime, as was Joe Willock, who's another lad who could play for England soon. Joe Linton. In fact, every man Jack in Newcastle's team from Pope and Trippier at the back up to Callum up front, who scored a lovely goal. They were like head and shoulders above Forest. What I wanted coming out of St James's Park was I didn't want Newcastle to then start losing to others. But what Newcastle have done, that 2-0 at Forest had, it's becoming more forgivable now when you see what Newcastle have done in the intervening period. And I think, Eddie got their manager of the month. To me, he's the manager. Well, him or Arteta would be the manager of the season at the moment, with a bit of Marco Silva chucked in. And like Miguel Almiron, and is playing out of his skin. Newcastle look an incredibly happy bunch. And I don't think it's primarily because they're winning. I think they're winning because they're a happy bunch. It's like the other way round, you know. So I think Leicester. Where do Leicester play Newcastle? At the King Power?
I think it's at their place.
Yeah, that's going to make it tough. And then it's Liverpool at the King Power after that, is it?
Let's just have a look. It's Newcastle. Sorry, it is at the King Power.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about Liverpool after that.
Do you know what, Chris? I'm just thinking about Leicester. Was it the year that Liverpool won the league, or it might have been last season? They went to Anfield at Christmas, and did they get a draw or a win or something when Liverpool were?
We lost to we lost to them in the cup in the Carabao Cup on penalties, and again we were ahead at that point. But then I think we beat them 1-0. I can't remember where that was at though, but we did beat them in the league. But look, in fairness, I must get this in for Terry because he actually asked this at 20 to 10 tonight, so over an hour ago. And I said I would ask you, and I've kind of forgotten about it. But
no worries, mate. No worries.
And it is a very good question that he asks here. What I would like to know is why do some of the Forest fans do onto their own live streams wearing some yellow thing that looks like a yellow RNLI life jackets, but with a tree on them?
It's, I believe Terry's referring to our away kit.
I think he might be.
It's our away kit, which is, I love our red kit. I think it's beautiful. And you know what? We're still no sponsor, if you've all noticed, right?
Yeah, no. I'm surprised that nobody's rushing forward to sponsor the mighty trees.
Yeah, I quite like it actually, but the away kit. My first recollection of the away kit was a friendly at Oakwell against Barnsley on a day where I think the temperature in Barnsley was hotter than maybe at Mumbai or Cape Town or Algiers, somewhere like that. It was unbelievably. It was scorching in Barnsley. I don't think it must have been like 30 degrees. And Forest came out in this yellow kit, and I was like, I'm not sure about that. See where we are, Chris, with away kits, is we had that kit last year. You might remember where it was like we called it the citrus kit because half of it was orange and half of it was yellow. And when it was brought out, the Forest fans were like, "Oh my God, what's that monstrosity?" Right, truly awful. My first thought was, I'm an arts graduate, and I was like, "Oh my God, I couldn't even, it looked like a Jackson Pollock that had gone wrong." You know what I mean? Or a Rothko. A Jackson Pollock. No,
you said Jackson. You said I'm a.
No. Funnily enough, I've just been watching a show with Emily Blunt, which is my favourite rhyming slang, actually, but I won't go there. Right. So they brought this kit out, and it looked like some, abstract piece of art. We were all like dead against it. But then what happened was we wore it at Barnsley, which is Steve's first away game, and we wore it at Huddersfield, which was the game before Steve came in. And we won both games. And then this yellow and orange kit, I don't think we lost in it at all. And everybody then started to like it. But this yellow kit, we wore it at Barnsley. And I believe that the only time we've worn it in the Premier League since then was when we lost 6-0 to Manchester City. So, you regard kits as a bit sort of peripheral to it. But, it's almost like back in the day where Sir Alex decided that grey kit at Southampton had to go at half time.
Oh, the funny thing you say that because I think away kits. We don't need 3 kits. Leicester's away kit this season looks like a leftover from the Bill changing room. But the third kit's lovely. But I can remember we bought a pink kit, a pink second strip out a few seasons ago, and I said I hated it at the start, ended up buying it, wore it to Southampton away, and we won 9-0. So you change. The second strips are always there just for sales, basically. What makes me laugh is that we had whenever we bring a red shirt out as our second kit, and we Gary Lineker wore a red away shirt. I thought, we've had it over the years. Everybody comes out, why are we wearing red? It's Forest scum, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, but why are we wearing blue? That's Chelsea scum. Every colour's got a link to another club. If you bring out a yellow one, That's Norwich. Oh, gold one. Oh, that's
Yeah.
Wolves. You can't win. But the story I love, and I'm going to try and find this because I did it for the. In fact, was it? I'm not. No, it wasn't your quiz. But when we did the home and away questions, I'm just going to find them here because it was a question about Leeds. Right. Of course, Admiral, who used to be a Leicester firm, Leeds were their first customers with their away yellow shirt. But the question that I asked was, and he didn't get it right, by the way. Well, it doesn't matter anyway. But in September 1970, Leeds played Stoke City at the Victoria Ground. What colour playing kit did Leeds appear in? Now, you could go, and I could give you half an hour there to go through any team strip that you thought, there's been yellow, there's been red, there's been black, The answer was orange. Now,
really? Which I find strange, Chris, because back in those days, Leeds were either white or yellow away from home. And do you remember when Leeds, Chris, you may remember, do you remember when Leeds used to have those tags on the socks with the player's number on them? I always remember Giles. Giles had a number 10 tag on his socks. And actually, do you know what he did at the time? I don't have a problem with Leeds now. I quite like Leeds at the moment. But at the time, when I was a little lad, Leeds were kicking lumps out of everybody. And those leather sock tags added another layer of, God, aren't they awful to Leeds United, and along with Revy and everything else, you know what I mean? But orange, do you know what? In those days...
Do you know what, though? Just say, you're talking about Alex Ferguson changing out the grey strip at half-time.
Yeah.
The Leeds lost that game 2-0, and apparently it's true, Revy burned the kits, and they were never, ever worn again. Now, the Leeds fan says that has gone down in folklore. So whether it's...
Can I ask you a question, Chris?
Yeah.
Who scored Stokes goals that day, mate? Have you got the scorers for that?
I know. I wasn't that much of a fan of Leeds. I was just asking the question.
Because where I live, I live just outside. I live between New Toxteth and Stoke-on-Trent, right? So when I was a little lad, my dad and my granddad, Walter, who was a hell of a footballer in his day, they used to take me to Stoke City.
Never mind.
So I remember.
I wonder you've grown up supporting Nottingham Forest.
Yeah. I didn't grow up actually for a long time. I had stunted growth, and I think it might have been because I used to go to the old Victoria Ground. I didn't start shaving until I was 24, so maybe I had a problem with Stoke City, but
and that was just your legs.
It was, mate. hey, true story. The first thing that was ever shaved on me was a leg, right? So I went to university in Nottingham, and I was like a little cheeky chappy sort of thing. I'm not very grown up. I was like Harry Potter on the first day at Hogwarts, and the first thing that happened to me was some of the lads got me down and shaved my leg. Why my leg? I got lucky. There were other parts of my anatomy which might have been a target, but they got away lightly. And I was kind of glad my leg took it from me. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, a question for you then. It's in the quiz question, but just see if you know. Allegedly, I'm not sure this is 100% correct, but I have read it somewhere.
Yeah.
What is the best-selling England shirt of all time? Without including the 1966 one.
It's not that Admiral one, is it? From the mid-70s, the Revy era one.
Oh, I like that. The red one with the blue and white.
Yeah.
Because the home kit was white with red and blue and what have you.
Yeah, it was that was the Keegan Brooking kit, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah. I like that. It's one of my favourite shirts. No, it wasn't, but it was actually the grey shirt from the 1996 Euros.
Oh, the semi-final when Gaza when we played the Germans.
And that shirt was actually chosen because it goes well with jeans.
Yeah, I guess. You see me, mate, that shirt would not have appealed to me. I'm a goth. So as you can tell, I wear a lot of black. So I
thought that was just because you supported Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, I'm trying to blend in with the background, mate. You know what I mean? A bland background. Yeah. But when I was younger, I was like massively into bands like The Cure, Bauhaus, Joy Division, Sisters of Mercy, all that kind of stuff. So I was like, shades and long dark coats and suede boots and all that. And I've kind of never grown out of it, so it would not have done for me. In fact, I remember that night when we played the Germans in that semi-final, and we played really well, obviously. But as soon as I saw that kit, I had an awful feeling. Do you know what I mean? And
I love that kit.
No,
maybe because it went well with jeans. I don't know. But
I think you have more of a sartorial nous than I do, Chris. I think it's definite that.
Probably. But let's move from football, because last week we went down the Tiswas route.
We did, didn't we?
Didn't we?
Which actually was my favourite bit, I'm sorry to say.
I loved it. I've remembered I said there was a joke that was published in the. This was produced the summer. It was.
You found it?
Sorry?
Have you found it, did you say?
No, but I remember the joke. joke. So it was a summer edition. Tiswas. Keep you occupied during the summer, join the dots, colour this in, all typical phantom flan flinger dances and all that. But my joke that I actually got published in that paper was, what do you call a bull when it's asleep?
I don't know. What do you call a bull when it's asleep?
A bulldozer. I know. Now, this was the 12, 13-year-old me. You know, I've got to be honest with you. Yeah, I would probably still use it now. But,
do you know what, mate? That's like what was it? It's like Bullseye. It was so bad. It was brilliant.
I was watching that because because of the reason I'm not working and my illness that I've got. I'm up a lot at night. I don't sleep at night. I sleep during the day because I don't know why. Well, I do know why, but that's
Are you nocturnal?
No. This isn't emergency room 7, so I won't go into it. But I am up a lot at night. Right. I was watching Bullseye because on Challenge it's like in the morning, and it was so bad. It was awful.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, somebody from Birmingham wins a fucking powerboat.
Yeah, and like Peter Kay said, how do you split it? Can I just? Terry's really getting inside my head tonight, bless him. No, Terry, I don't have Vera Lynn's greatest hits, but I'm a big fan of "There'll Be Bluebirds Over the White Cliffs of Dover."
Oh, there'll be 20,000
Terry Fuller, we may meet again. Don't know where. When.
There might be bluebirds over the White Cliffs of Dover, but there's 20,000 immigrants following them behind. Right, I want to ask you this. We haven't got a show next week because England are playing.
Yeah, that's right.
And Wales are playing at night. So
sure.
We will fit it in at some point. The World Cup's going to throw everything out. So basically, if you can subscribe to the channel, press the notification bell, then you will know when we're going to appear and do it. That's me.
Help this man out. He's brilliant. I'm a Forest fan, right? And I love being on his show. And he's a great character. He's a wit, a raconteur. Get and support this man. Please subscribe to him.
You cost me too much money for having you to say this.
I come quite cheap, actually. I'm a tricky tree. I mean, we started this evening, me and you, with me being the tricky tree and that fox urinating on me.
Yes, and I wasn't
the things I do for my club and for your club, actually.
No, I mean, I do feel like I'm Qatar paying FIFA here to say.
Yeah. True.
So we will arrange something, but like I say, every single show is everywhere, at the moment. The one thing I've got to end on, because football's not back till after Christmas,
right?
Well, unless you count the League Cup, which we don't. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? This is the question that needs to be asked.
Yes, because in fact, Die Hard and Die Hard 2 are both Christmas movies because they both end, I believe, with "Oh, the weather outside is frightful, and the fire is so delightful."
It's based around there's Christmas trees in. Of course, it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah, as is It's a Wonderful Life, as is Elf.
No. I mean, yes, they are Christmas movies. I've never seen It's a Wonderful Life all the way through. Elf, I cannot stand. I just want to slap Will Ferrell in his face because he's the most annoying. I mean, he's playing his part well, but he's just so annoying. But of course, you've got Asda having the elf adverts for Christmas.
Yes.
And you've got Aldi doing the Home Alone ones.
Do you know what, mate? I do the old days shopping because, bless them, neither of them can get out of the house. So I'm like their primary carer. Yeah. And my mum says, "Oh, can you get us some grapes? We need a couple of bottles of milk. Can you get..." My dad's like drinking Ribena like it's going out of fashion and all that. And I walked into Asda last week and there's a bloke who comes and does my dad's garden occasionally for a tenner called Dougie. And me and Dougie were having a natter. We walked into Asda and there's all this elf stuff. And like Dougie just went, "It's bloody November. And he's a tit him. I can't be doing with him." You know what I mean? And what they got this cardboard figure, Chris, where you could go and put your head. So it was like, the elf, and then you put your face through it. And he goes, "Go on, Dave, put your head in that." I said, "I'd rather put my head in a guillotine, mate. I'm not doing that." You know what I mean? So the other Christmas movie I watch every year without fail. It's an oldie, but it's a goodie. Is Scrooge with Alistair Sim. Alistair Sim, that's a really good old film. That.
Now, I tell you what, and we have gone down this cul-de-sac, so we're going to carry on.
We found one, didn't we, mate?
Christmas, I love Christmas. I mean, they've got the lights on all year. But
you're named after it.
I am. This is true. This is true. But yeah, it's got to come after Boxing Day. Sorry, not come. It's got to come after Fireworks Day. Christmas doesn't exist before then. Once we've got Bonfire Night out the way, then it's all the run down to Christmas.
Right.
But talking of Scrooge, I it is so difficult to find it, but I've managed to do it and I've lost it again. But I think it was Channel 4 or 5, it might have been 4, did a version of Scrooge. They updated it with the guy out of EastEnders that started going off covering all the wars and the dangerous places.
Oh, Ross
Kemp. Ross Kemp, yeah. And they did an updated version where he was a loan shark.
All right.
And he got visited by his ex-part and all the... And that is... It's not Christmassy as in the fact there's snow and there's Christmas trees, but obviously it's the Scrooge and it is based at Christmas, and I just love that. That is one of my favourite films of all time.
Can I ask? There's two things I want to ask you. Firstly, did Ross Kemp have the Cratchits? Did he get the Cratchits?
If he did, he got cream for it because his girlfriend was a nurse.
Which is the answer I was kind of like fishing for. So that's what. The other thing is right with you because you're obviously like. Your middle name is going to be Muss, innit? You're going to be Chris Muss for like a month. When, right, my good friend, my good foxy friend, this is from a tricky to a foxy. When does your tricky Christmas tree go up? When do you put it up? First day of December?
Now, you see, we got, well, funny enough, that leads me on to what I was going to say, because we have a bit of tradition and it's kind of carried on. Even though I am no longer in the marital home with the wife. And the kids have all grown up now and they're 24, 25. But the girls, I've got 4 kids, 2 boys, 2 girls. The girls, they never grow up. To me, they're always going to be 14, 15, you know.
Yeah.
And every year we used to have, and the boys when they were younger, we'd have a day when all the Christmas decorations would go up. So you'd put VH1 on. Would you remember VH1?
Yeah.
Non-stop Christmas music.
Brilliant.
We'd put the tree up while that was playing. And then afterwards, we'd sit down and we'd watch our favourite Christmas film, Miracle on 34th Street.
Oh, brilliant, mate.
Not the original. Not the original, though.
Oh, with Richard Attenborough?
Yes.
Got you.
Brilliant. Absolutely. We love that film.
Yeah.
And that was our quiz. We still do it now, although because I live in a flat now, my tree is one of those that you pull up because I haven't got the room. If I put anything bigger up, I put a picture of it up once, and somebody went, "That's a pathetic tree, isn't it?" I thought it's the only thing that I can fit in my flat, you know.
Yeah.
But so it all now. I've got not unfortunately, my one because the girls are twins, so one of the twins is in London.
Right.
Because she went to a university there. She's got a job there, so she's now based in London.
Brilliant.
So she's not going to be coming back until probably sort of just before Christmas, obviously. So it's my other daughter who's in Thailand at the moment.
Wow.
Doing her version of the beach. That
Yeah.
But it will be when she's free, because we've said no, we're going to do that again this year. We've not done it for a few years, so we're going to do it again this year and have the decorations up. But I do need to buy a little blue tree for in here. But
I was going to say, you want something King Powery, Leicester City, Vardy, whatever to put up, don't you? Like, you know, I mean, in a way, I might have to nip over to the club shop at the City Ground and see what, because you know they sell so many daft things in there with Forest written on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm surprised I haven't bought Forest toilet paper yet. You know, but then people would say wiping my bum on it might be the best thing to do. I don't know. You know, so
I am just getting rid of a sex line here, so bear with me.
No worries, mate. Where's the time gone? It's amazing how quick it goes.
Oh, it does. I mean, I do have some blue tinsel that will be going out. I'm not going to lie. That will be going out. But although what I'm doing with my other daughter this year is because of what I'm off work with, I don't go out very often.
Right.
I live above Aldi, but I have Iceland deliver my food.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm going to attempt to go to London.
Brilliant.
See my other daughter, sleep on a sofa.
Yeah.
And a daughter and a boyfriend who unfortunately is an Arsenal fan.
Well, he'd be happy at the moment, but obviously I don't really want to have anything to do with him after what they did to us. And I guess
no, exactly. But then I'm thinking, well, she could have gone out with a Forest fan or a Derby fan. So Arsenal aren't that bad.
Small mercies.
Yes. So I am actually going to I'm going to go over on the Friday. On the Saturday lunch, on the Saturday afternoon, we're off to see ABBA Voyage, because I absolutely love ABBA. I loved them in the 70s when everybody else thought they were not cool. Yeah. And everybody else just jumped on the bandwagon. But no, I absolutely adore. So I'm going to see that on the Saturday afternoon.
Fantastic.
And on the Sunday, she's going to take me to Winter Wonderland.
Wow.
So
hey, mate, that sounds fantastic.
It will be a full, you know. I might see somebody in red that's big, that's fat, that is giving away presents. It could be Steve Cooper from the Arsenal game. Who knows?
I tell you what, actually, people in red giving away presents, that would have been us earlier in the season, but we've become a little bit become a little bit more Scrooge-like recently, apart from Arsenal. I think, but Arsenal had Jacob Marley's ghost up front with Gabriel Jesus, so I think that kind of threw it a bit, you know. But Chris, that sounds like a fantastic itinerary that's in front of you there, mate. You know
I hopefully it is. Do you? What's your favourite Christmas film of all time?
Mine has to be "It's a Wonderful Life." Love it.
I mean,
I love it. It's just such a good.
To, at some point, sit and watch it. But I haven't. I've seen clips. I've seen obviously all the big clips, but I haven't seen it all the way through. And it's on every year. To
me, it's just the ultimate feel-good movie, because it's very simple in its tale and in its morality and all that. And I just love it. And I just think I love James Stewart. He's like I'm the punk rocker, the extreme metalist, the hip hop, the grime, and all that kind of stuff. But I can watch the Glenn Miller story on repeat, man. I think it's fantastic. You know what I mean? It's a Wonderful Life. My favourite Christmas song.
Actually, now you go. Now you found the little ginnel at the end of the cul-de-sac. And we've gone through that into the next street.
Yeah, I Believe in Father Christmas by Greg Lake is my favourite Christmas song.
Now, as anybody that doesn't know, I do have a radio station as well, which is LTID Radio /Mixcloud.com. I've only just starting it up. It's not the best in the world, but we've got all the jingles and everything. We do talk football, but we play music, and we always have a theme. So there's going to be plenty of Christmas music played on the shows between now and Christmas. But I like that one, and I love Christmas music. I do love Christmas music. I draw the line that my grandma's got run over by a reindeer. That doesn't quite do it for me. But there's one song I love. One of the three, probably my three favourites. "Lonely This Christmas" by Mud.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the era of the Christmas, the 70s.
Yeah, it was.
Era.
Exactly, mate. Yeah.
You know. Who'd have thought 70s pop stars dressing up as somebody and dropping down your chimney and filling your sack? Who would have thought it there? But I when at the time, I was obviously from Leicester. I was in Blackpool. My girlfriend, stroke future wife, was in Blackpool. How I did it, God knows. But we'd go out Christmas Eve down to the club. So this is, Merry Christmas, everybody. Slade would come on and everybody be up. 2 o'clock in the morning, I'd drop her off at home, say our goodbyes, and go down to drive down to Leicester. So, of course, "Lonely This Christmas" was there.
Absolutely, mate.
My second son was born on Christmas Day.
All right. Yeah.
He was a week early because he should have been born on New Year's Day. It would have been easier for him, bless him. He lost out so much with it being all one. He's in Africa this year, so he'll be able to find out if they do know it's Christmas over there.
Yeah.
So when a child is born by Johnny Mathis.
Yeah.
Classic.
Absolutely, mate.
But number one all-time Christmas song, "Merry Christmas, Everybody" Slade.
Yeah. Great one.
And there is not a jingle bell or anything on there, a chime or anything. But what a classic song!
Yeah, it was. And you're right, in those days, because the charts meant something and Top of the Pops was meaningful.
Are you ready to listen to it? Sorry, if you want to join in and listen to anybody in the chat, unfortunately, you do have to at the moment. It's free, but you do have to register with your email address. And a lot of people don't want to do that because they wonder what it commits them to. Apparently, you do not get loads of sales things or daily updates or anything like that. You've just got to register. But yes, I do a lot of dad jokes. I'm not going to lie. Do carry on, Dave.
I was just saying that in those days, Chris, when we were younger, the charts meant something, and you got Christmas singles, Christmas songs that actually mean something. Whereas like now, I mean, it's almost like the Christmas songs that we like have stayed the same for the last at least 20, 30 years, mate. I don't remember hearing. I mean, when I was a kid, and that I remember. Father, I Believe in Father Christmas by Greg Lake came out. It was like 74 or 75. It just stuck in my head so much. But the thing was, I read about Greg Lake because he was a member of Emerson, Lake and Palmer.
Yes, indeed. Yes.
And I think he might have been in King Crimson as well, actually.
Yes, you're right.
He wrote the song, ironically, in like May or June. And so it was never meant. It was something like, he wrote it at the wrong time of year. And then it kind of obviously got... hijacked and whatever. But I just think that's my favourite. You know what I mean, mate?
But so many of these songs they are written. I mean, "Merry Christmas, Everybody" wasn't a Christmas song. It was about a grandma rocking in a chair.
Yeah. And
then it got adapted, and of course they have to do it that early because they've got to then record it. But the man who killed Christmas was Simon Cowell.
Oh yeah,
because he'd always bring his X Factor single out at Christmas, and it was like, I loved it when Rage to the Machine was it.
You see, I'm a massive Rage Against the Machine fan.
Against the Machine,
and I tell you what, mate, because I like all of that underground punk metal stuff. I mean, I'll never grow out. I'm a massive Slipknot fan. Would you believe? But when I remember seeing Rage Against the Machine at the Reading Festival one year, and they played "Killing in the Name of." And 40,000 people in a field going, "F you, I won't do what you tell me. F you, I won't do what you tell me." And it was one of the weirdest. It was a bit like the Life of Brian, where you're all individuals. yes, we are all individuals. You know what I mean? It was just like that. And it was so Rage Against the Machine, one of my favourite bands, but that moment was one of the most bizarre of my life, mate. You know what I mean?
No, I loved it when when they got to number one. I mean, there's been a few recently. Mariah Carey, All I Want for Christmas is a classic. Yeah. I mean, Underneath the Tree, Kelly Clarkson is one of my faves.
Yeah.
Was it Leona Lewis? One More Sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, there's been some, recently, but I mean, we know when you see the. Is this a euphemism for something, Terry? Mine is when Santa got stuck up the chimney. Who remembers? Right, who remembers the goodies? I'm sure you will. Goody.
Come along, boys.
Goody,
come along, girls. Let's all get together and make a daft noise for Christmas.
That's the one. That is the one. There was two. They had two. I mean, that year, when they did the Funky Gibbon, they were actually the best-selling band in the whole country. But they had Make a Daft Noise for Christmas. Oh, no. The better one. No. The better one, that was Father Christmas, Do Not Touch Me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which, given what we've learned of the BBC since, Chris, has a certain ring to it, does it not?
It does. Ring, no pun intended there, let's be honest.
Absolutely no pun intended, but I've just realised what I've said, and that's, a bit near the knuckle. Oh, that's even worse.
No, it is true. I mean, when you look back at what was allowed, but because one of those lines was Father Christmas, Do Not Touch. I mean, it just got less and less each time.
Yeah, it did. It shortened the verse every time, didn't it?
Yeah.
So.
Do you remember? I think it was Chris Hill. He did Disco Santa, Renter Santa. Do you remember those?
I vaguely remember.
Basically, they were a Christmas. He was a DJ, but it was a Christmas thing where he'd use bits of other people's songs.
Right.
So,
and he did medley things and medley mixes?
No, it wasn't even that good. He actually, I mean, the classic one is like, there's been a crash and we're going over now.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
Hang on, pressed it again. It was a whole song like that of using those sort of clips. Where are you going? Off down the road again. But what I loved, I think it was the Renter Santa one, or it could have been Renter Santa or Disco Santa. On the B side was a song called Ride My Bike. Now, those are the Ride My Bike. I'm just going to try.
Right, okay, thank you. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
I'm going to try and load something here. I don't know.
Hey, can I just say, when you were playing that no just a minute ago, I'm sure that was a recording of me at the King Power when Leicester were 4-0 up. Right.
Quite possibly. Possibly. We would have had a few tears in there as well.
Oh, absolutely, mate. Very emotional.
Let me have a look here. Right. So I adopted, and now this might get clipped out because it's of copyright rules, but if it is, I'll just clip it out later. But this was part of the B-side of Renter Santa by Chris Hill.
Oh, I'm there! Oh, that's the last time I ride this bike up here.
But as you can imagine, right? There's 2.5 minutes of this. So it starts out going, it's a long way. Oh, I'm gonna make it. I'm nearly there. And of course, at the end of the day, it's about riding the bike up the hill.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the B-side was when I first bought it. Kids, when we used to go out and buy vinyl, ask your parents. And I flipped it over because I love music and whatever. And I flipped it over to play this song, and it's playing quite loud in my bedroom. There's a knock on the door. And my mother says, "Chris, what the hell are you doing in there?" What is wrong with the record? Yes, it is. Don't use your hanky. Use tissues. It won't come out of a hanky.
The thing is, mate, there's a hell of a lot of potential for a situation to be misinterpreted there, is there not? You know what I mean?
Yes, totally. Which is why, obviously, I use it in the way that
The thing is, Chris, if you want, if you want to clip it out, don't be worried about me because, mate, I can't unsee that now, and it's right stuck in my head. You know what I mean? So feel free, mate. Feel free.
No, it's only if YouTube complain. YouTube might pick up on the fact that it's part of a song. You know.
Yeah.
I get away with "Oh no, no, no." I don't know why, but
well, that's that. We could just relate that to that. That's Dave Asprey's emotion in the away section at the King Power.
Yes.
When Daka Black Heels in for 4-0 because I'm just, no. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm like White Christmas. We've got to talk White Christmas before we go, and I'm conscious of the
film
time.
Or the song?
Sorry,
the film or the song?
The film. I mean, there's the original film where he goes ting 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 with his pipe, but to me, the classic is the remake of it. With Danny Kaye.
Absolutely.
What a film.
It is, and I tell you what, mate, that film is not only, it's a beautiful film, but it's beautiful to look at. The colour is so vivid. It's a fantastic movie. That a mate of mine had it, and he'd recorded it or something. I don't know what he'd done, and he gave me a version of it on a USB, and I'd never watched it. And I always thought, oh, it's a bit too naff for me, you know what I mean? But I watched it, I absolutely loved it, and it's it's like me with the car when I'm riding around in my little Nissan Micra, George Micra as I call it, right? I've got a little disc. I've got a CD that around about Christmas time. I've got Christmas written on it, and it's got a bunch of songs like Dean Martin, Perry Como, Bing, The Pogues, Jonah Louie, the usual ones, mate. And I like listening to that. So.
Well, I've just updated my 18, and I think it's about time that we got the Blue Santa out.
Okay, mate.
You can't see it. Can you see it in the top corner?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I can. Yeah, absolutely, mate. Yeah.
What a film. And I have to take it back, right? Whilst I love Slade, and it is my joint number one, how could I forget The Fairy Tale of New York?
Oh, wonderful, mate. Wonderful.
I understand a bloody word they're singing, but what a song.
I remember I've seen the Pogues a couple of times. When I was at uni in Nottingham, I saw the Pogues at Rock City. And I tell you, when I saw them, my remembrance of that gig is that the Pogues played, and it was just after Barry McGuigan had beaten Eusebio Pedrosa to win the world title at Loftus Road. So Shane and the Pogues came out. Every song was dedicated. This one's for Barry McGuigan, right? Yeah. And I stood in the crowd at Rock City shouting Dennis Taylor's name out because Dennis Taylor had beaten Steve Davis in the World Snooker that year. So it's amazing what you remember, isn't it? You know what I mean?
It is. Let me just say, I'm not sure whether our friend, the Sex Chat, has come back. No, I don't think it has. I think I'm just looking up an old message. Do you? I mean, I remember Phil Spector. Do you remember Phil Spector?
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, the Ronettes. Yeah, love it.
And he brought out an album, A Christmas Gift for You, and it had like the Ronette, and they did all Christmas songs.
Yeah.
And the last song on that album was him saying thank you for the artists. Nobody else could have got away with that other than Phil Spector.
Complete maverick, mate.
Yeah,
and I love that wall of sound stuff that he did. I mean, one of my favorite bands later on was the Jesus and Mary Chain, and they kind of took that wall of sound and made it into something like quite punky and quite modern. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
True
that's
Red says here, Tim Allen fans. So every year I watch Santa Claus. And take it or leave it. To be honest with you, there's just, to me, the classic Christmas moment, and it was pinched by Friends. They stole it. Was the Mr. Bean turkey on the head routine?
Yeah. Brilliant. Seen it. Fantastic.
Wasn't it? Look. We could be talking now. I could be talking until Christmas about Christmas. I've kept you too long, sir. I've kept you too long.
No, hey, mate, I've really enjoyed it. I hope the people that have been tuning in have enjoyed it as well. You know,
who cares? We have.
Yeah, you're right. You're right,
And
actually.
of
mate.
course, we've got, the one of the other best songs, Blue Christmas by Elvis Presley. It's got to be Blue Christmas,
Yeah.
hasn't it?
Love Elvis.
Not a red Christmas, not a green Christmas.
No.
The only thing good about Nottingham Forest and Christmas is that we have a tree up for a few days. I went out shopping at the weekend and I was looking at Christmas trees and I thought, oh, that's a good one. And the guy said, oh, it's quite big. You're going to put it up yourself? I thought, no, I thought about the lounge. Thank you, Gary Delaney, for that one.
Yeah. Hey, I was just about to say Gary Delaney. I go and see Gary Delaney live. I saw him in Leek last year, and he was fantastic. He's brilliant.
3 times. I, in fact, saw Gary Delaney. His latest tour is out, and he's not actually doing it, but come in this area. But a couple of seasons ago, I went to Bournemouth to see him.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks later, I went to Poole to see him do the same act because it was just so funny.
Yeah.
And the thing was, I was on the front row, and on Bournemouth, he was actually not in the main auditorium because there was like the Chippendales or whatever it was performing there. And I bumped into him as you do as you're getting ready, and I said like, not with the Chippendales tonight, then.
Do you know what, mate? You're dead right. I was unlucky. I had a show, so I saw him. I think late last year, and then I had tickets to see him again, but I had a problem with my car, which meant I couldn't get there. So, but I absolutely love Gary Delaney. I think he's one of my favourite comedians, and his timing. What I loved about the gig I saw in Leek was it was quite experimental. Where he would walk out, he goes, "Right, I'd like to try some of these on." You know what I mean? And it was almost like it's a bit before. And then he had Steve Day. I think was his
that's his normal.
He's a brilliant comedian. I think I think
and
Steve
then he
Day
uses the thing with the projector, doesn't he?
I think Steve Day might be deaf, and he was amazing. And then Gary came back on. It was a brilliant show, mate. You know what I mean? But
I love the one-line comedians, and a few years ago I did I think I said before possibly my not wish list. What do they call bucket list? Bucket list. Not that I was dying. I just thought, sod this. Everybody else at work who was half my age and more would go, oh, I'm doing this at the weekend. I'm doing that at the weekend. I'm thinking, So I thought I did a bucket list. And then the next year I did a comedy list where I went to see as many comedians because obviously living in Bournemouth and the Vic, we get a lot. And I love Milton Jones, one-line comedian.
Hey, let me stop you. Did you see Milton Jones at the Bournemouth Pavilion? Because I did, and he was amazing.
Probably, yes, it would have been. Because it wouldn't have been the Vic, it would have been the Pavilion. Yes, I did.
Was it about 4 or 5 years ago?
He came on. He came on as Grandad.
Yes, I was there.
You were there. Oh God, so was I.
Like I said to you, Chris, for 28 years, mate, I worked at Christchurch and lived at Muddyford.
Yes, of course.
So who did I see in Bournemouth? I saw the Fast Show. I saw the Mighty Boosh. I saw Stuart Lee. I saw Dylan, who does Black Books. I can never quite remember his name. Irish guy. Saw him. He was really good. I saw, who else did I see? Peter Kay.
Oh, I haven't seen Peter Kay yet. Oh,
yeah, I saw Peter Kay on the Mum Wants a Bungalow tour. So I saw a lot of good comedians in Bournemouth. The only trouble was at the time, I had really bad hearing issues because I'm stone deaf in one ear and my other ear was like failing. And a couple of times, so the night I went to see Milton Jones, I got lucky. My hearing was all right, but I went to see Stuart Lee at Poole Arts Centre. And it was really frustrating. I actually had to leave because I couldn't hear what he was saying. You know what I mean? It was like deeply disappointing. But yeah.
Well, just these were the comedians I managed to see within the same year. Gary Delaney,
brilliant,
twice, like I say.
Yeah.
Paul Merton,
very funny.
He does his improv show at the Pavilion. Time. Stuart Francis, who's another one-liner. Yeah. Michael Palin. But that's another that's another stuff for another
national treasure.
Yeah, Des O'Connor and Jimmy Tarbuck, but Des It was his last one before he passed away.
Right.
And
Right.
he couldn't even stand up on stage, so you knew his time was close.
Yeah.
Jimmy Carr.
Yeah.
Jim Davison, I saw at Wimborne.
Right.
In the middle of a snowstorm. I wasn't sure if it was going to go ahead or not.
Was that the Tivoli then, Chris?
Yes, the Tivoli, indeed it was. And he just didn't give a shit. I love non-PC.
Yeah.
Jeff Hurst I saw at the Tivoli. At Christchurch I saw Jeff Hurst.
What, an evening with Jeff Hurst at the Regent?
Yeah. Oh, you weren't there, were you?
No, the last thing I saw at the Regent was an evening with Henry Blofeld and Graham Swan.
Oh, no! I've got the picture somewhere of Jeff Hurst. Where is it? Oh, it's there. I've got me and Jeff Hurst.
Brilliant.
And he's a lovely guy. I spoke to him while I was visiting. Jethro, who's no longer with us.
I saw him at the Pavilion. He was brilliant.
Yes, yeah. That was the one where, and I'm going back to 2019, so I'm not sure where you were in 2019.
No, I was up here by then. I'd left Bournemouth by then.
Ed Byrne.
Brilliant.
Milton Jones, like I say. Al Murray.
Oh, yeah, very funny, yeah.
Lenny Henry. Mrs. Brown's Boys, and I've still not seen it because it was cancelled twice because of COVID.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what's happening. I'm still going to see it. But the best one, and it's hard to pick somebody who is the best one, but I think it was because I looked at it and I thought, no, I don't like you. Not as a stand-up comedian. I'm not keen on you. And I thought, towards the end, I thought, sod it. You know what? I'm doing nothing this weekend. And I managed to get a reasonable seat, because I was on my own, so I was able to get an odd seat. Ricky Gervais.
All right. Yeah. I've seen.
I wet myself, literally.
Yeah.
Again, because he doesn't give a shit.
No,
he give a shit.
I've seen several of Ricky's shows. I was never. I used to watch The Office, but kind of find it a bit excruciating. But with Ricky, I didn't really watch extras. The one with Ricky, I watched several of Ricky's stand-up shows, but the one I really like that Ricky does is Afterlife. I think that's fantastic. Massive fan of Afterlife.
I love The Office.
Yeah.
I think the American one is a complete travesty.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love The Office. I didn't like Extras.
No.
And there was one, Dave, was it called or something?
Derek.
I didn't like that.
No.
Afterlife. Oh my God. It's just so, it's so un-PC, but where he walks along and that little kid shouts pedo at him.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm not a pedo. And if I was, I wouldn't come anywhere near you, you little ginger.
Yeah. Do you know what,
mate?
It pushed the envelope. Definitely was. It didn't give a shit, but at the same time, that show had a real heart of gold. I used to love it when he would sit in the cemetery with Penelope Wilton, who I think is a wonderful actress. You know, those little vignettes were fantastic. What's his name? Tony Way, I think, is a wonderful actor who was with him working in the office, the sort of big chunky guy. You know, so I loved Afterlife. You know. So I loved it, mate.
And it had some. It had Rochelle, whatever she's called. I can't remember her surname. As the prostitute. If anybody's not watched
Rasheen Connerty. Yeah, you had Rasheen Connerty, and then you had the brilliant Diane Morgan as well. She was fantastic in that.
And who was the postman? He was.
That's Joe. Oh, what's his name? He's brilliant. Joe. I can't remember his surname at the moment. He's a fantastic.
No, but he was good. He was good in that. He does 9 out of 10, 8 out of 10 cats. Terry, I did. Thank you. I had forgotten Freddie Starr at Bailey's in Leicester. But I am going back before pre-note 2019. It was my 18th birthday, and I plucked up the courage to ask this girl to go with me. And the day after, I was going to because I worked for P&O at the time, and I got some free tickets. It's got a hydrofoil going from London Tower Bridge over to Ostend. Can I just say the North Sea is not the place for hydrofoil? But
no, I can imagine, mate.
But yeah, that I plucked up the Debbie. She was called. Well, I loved that.
Right.
She didn't love me, and it didn't work out. I don't think we got past it. With this, we were always friends because we only lived a few doors away from each other. But that was probably our one and only date. But Freddie Starr, that was again I forgot about.
Hamsters on the menu that night.
Sorry.
hamsters on the menu that night, were they?
You'd be surprised what we do with the hamsters.
God,
And on that note,
bombshell.
we are no. Let's keep talking for 20 more seconds, and we've reached 2 hours.
Yeah.
I am so sorry I have kept you.
Hey, listen, I'm like you. I'm like in a flat on me Todd. I get asked, "Are you in a relationship?" I say, "Yes, I am. Very deep, committed." They say, "What's her name?" I said, "Her name is Nottingham Forest." And I love these chats, mate. It's great. I mean, before we came on, I watched this week's Walking Dead, which was brilliant, and I watched the last episode.
Still going.
Yeah, and it's getting quite good again, actually. Well, I think. And then I binged. My recommendation this week to anybody watching is a show on BBC Two that I binged. It's on the iPlayer called The English. It's a Western with Emily Blunt, and it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I've just finished it tonight. So, yeah. We just passed 2 hours, mate. We've done it.
We've done it. True red, don't bend down. You'll never know where I'll put the hamster.
Gnawing away at him.
Yeah, I just, well, yeah. I mean, I'm going to go off and binge something now and have something to eat. But look, thank you for sticking with it. I love doing these shows. We're the same. I don't know how old you are, but we're of the same era. We remember the same things. We grew up on Tiswas. We've got to be cool, haven't we? You know.
Yeah. And I think let me just say the last thing I say before we say sayonara is like Leicester City going well. They're going to be unbeaten now in good fettle. I think Leicester are going to be fine. I think Leicester, the way they're going, are going to end up top half, which would be fantastic. And my own little lot, who I love dearly, are showing signs of perkiness. So that's good.
You can't not enjoy a mid-November perkiness, can you?
No, you can't.
You have a pinkiness to go with it.
Yes, my time of life, one holds on to those and cherishes them. You know what I mean?
Now, next week, like I say, Wales are playing on the Monday
against the Americans. Yeah.
France are playing Australia, so I'm doing something on Doug's channel on the Tuesday.
Chris, from the 21st, mate, and I think it's until the 28th. There are Qatar, Ecuador on the Sunday, then there are 3 on the Monday, and then thereafter for about a week there are 4 each day, and they're 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 7 o'clock. So
it will probably be week commencing the 28th of November, possibly, if you are free. Well, we'll talk about it. It might be a different day because Portugal are playing Uruguay. How bad is this?
That's going to be a good one, isn't it? That.
I need to get my bunting out. And yes, I did say that correctly. I'm ready. The World Cup shows start tomorrow. We've got the World Cup prediction show. So we're going to be doing that tomorrow. Then we've got World Cup quizzes, shit shirt shows where we'll be looking at all the World Cup shirts. We've got so much Cup stuff going on. We might.
Chris, before I go, Dave's quick World Cup prediction: winners, Argentina.
I said Argentina, to be honest with you.
The story for me would be the little man winning the World Cup, and I'd like that.
Yes, I would like to see him go out with the World Cup.
Yeah.
We ain't going to win it, so
no, we're out.
I've got a sneaky feeling for
round.
I've got a sneaky feeling for Uruguay, but I don't want Nibbler to win it.
No. I just think. I mean, the only thing with Argentina is they're unbeaten in 35. So these runs come to an end. A bit like the Roses in the final against the Ferns. The rugby league, the rugby union. So sometimes when you get on a roll, but to be honest, mate, a lot of us, we've said this on Forest podcasts and whatever, that the World Cup, we haven't been able to kind of really, I'm still on, Ben, you know what I'm like. He knows
Ben,
me.
We found an interesting Nottingham Forest fan. We hold on to him. He's intelligent, he's articulate, he's got a good sense of humour.
That's right.
And he wasn't available, so we got Dave on.
Yeah, very true, mate. Yeah, they wanted somebody remarkable, and they ended up with me. So there you go. You know what I mean? So that's a shout. Maybe Spain, but Don't forget your payment. He's very commercial minded, Dor, you know, Chris. Very
He
commercial
seems to
minded.
be. He does seem to be, yes. Yeah.
But,
A good channel, though, guys. A bit of banter, get over there. Who is the guy? And I know I've asked you this before. He was wearing the yellow shirt after the Leicester game.
Yeah.
Began with an M or something. And he was in the bottom right of the 4 on the screen.
Mollo.
That's it. What's it? Can I just
Bob
say,
Mollison, yeah.
I don't know him. I've never met him. But what a dickhead.
Actually, Chris, I know Bob. He's a really good guy. He's like me. He has strong views about things. Bob's a cracking bloke. His daughter, actually, she does a lot of podcasting and broadcasting.
I think
Ellie.
she was on it at the same show. To be honest
she's
with you,
she's a fabulous girl. She's beautiful. She's really intelligent. In fact, I was on a show last night with Ellie and a young lad, a very talented young lad called Jamie Martin. And like what you had last night on Jamie Martin, he's the media man and he's very good. I recommend him to Forest supporters. Jamie's he's quite journalistic and that's good. You know, he comes at a different angle. But this show last night, you got Jamie, who's I think 17, and you got Ellie, who's 19, and then you got this old relic who's 58. You know what I mean? But I was down with the kids last night, and it was brilliant. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Oi, leave Follow alone, says Dor. Can I just say, all I will say about him, he's not a good loser, is he? You know, he makes Dor look absolutely lovely by comparison. And the True Red says, Chris, as Forest fans expect payment for coming onto your channel. You know, but I am doing community service here. That's what you've got to realise, Luke, is that we're letting Forest fans onto this channel. It's giving them the exposure that they've not had for so long. And, you know,
and which, Chris, may not last beyond the end of this season. So you've got to take it while you can get it, mate. You know what I mean?
Terry says, haha, can't wait to see him again next game. Quickly, Nippon, because we could be going for the 3-hour Rich Sports record here if you've got a question for Dave.
Yeah, go on, mate. Go on.
He's in India, I think, at the moment. So let's see if he...
Fantastic.
But Nippon, I hope you're well and are you all right over there, mate? We'll wait and see if this question... If not, you might have to wait for the next show, I'm afraid.
No worries.
And what are you doing up if you are over back still in India? It's about 4 a.m. over there, isn't it? Not sure if we're going to get the question or not here. And I am concerned, like I said, that I am keeping you from your bed.
No, you're right, mate.
No.
I'm retired now, so...
Here we go. You bloody cheeky devil. Can I just say, of course, it was Dor that brought us together.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Kind of an accident, really. But what do they call it? Serendipity, the happy accident, mate.
They do.
10 past 5 in the morning.
I don't think we're going to get the question because he's typed that and he's still not typed the question. Save it for next time, Nippon. Save it for next time.
Worries, mate.
Dave, you haven't got a channel to promote because, like you say, you don't have your own. But in fairness to him, Dor on tour, if you do want to have a bit of banter with Forest fans, do get over there. Yeah, even Mollo, just get over there just to wind him up because
he's good lad, Mollo.
You know, he can't keep calm for very long. You can almost go and say, right, I'm going to put a comment in on you can time it 10, 9, 8. So you're counting down. But look,
I mean, as you say, Chris, just before we go, mate, I don't have a channel. I just haven't. We're looking after mum and dad and the other things going on in life. I'm not. If James Madison's, is that James Madison's goals for England? Absolutely, I will. Yes.
So, yes.
Yeah, I will. I look. What's his name? NS Sports TV. I love James Madison.
It's called Nippon.
I'm not one of these people who I love James Madison. He's a talented footballer who captures imagination. I'm a Forest fan, and just because he's Leicester doesn't mean I hate him. I love him.
I'm the same, absolutely the same with Harry Kane. When he puts a Spurs shirt on, I want to smash his face in. Because he always scores against us. But when he puts an England shirt on, it's get in there, Harry. You know?
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, for sure.
Look, thank you so much for coming on. Love doing these shows.
Yeah.
We went up a few cul-de-sacs again at the end there.
We did.
And we're going to talk
Isn't that
Christmas.
the beauty of life? The beauty of life is finding new ways and new routes through life. Do you know what I mean?
We will have to have a Christmas special. We really must.
Yeah, that'd be good, mate. Definitely. Yeah.
Have you got a red Santa hat?
Not at the moment, but I can get a Garibaldi red Santa hat. That would probably be what I'd wear. You know what I mean?
I've got the blue Santa hat. So we must get that ready.
We'll look, Chris, and we look to do that, mate. That'd be lovely.
Brilliant. Look, take care. Give my best to your mum and dad.
Thank you, mate. And love to your globe-trotting little ones as well, mate. Wow.
Aye, yes. The thing, I think she's all right. I've only had one message off her, but that's kids for you, isn't it? In Thailand, you know. She'll claim she can get a signal. But all the best. Cheers, Dave. Take care, buddy.
All the best, mate. Thank you, Chris. Love to everybody at Leicester City from a Nottingham Forest fan.
Oh, I'm going to clip that.
Yeah.
That's going to be an advert for me.
All right, mate.
I'd say the same back to Forest fans, but I wouldn't mean it.
Yeah. Take care, mate.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Oh, I think we've probably aged under the years since we've been doing that show. 2 hours, 10 seconds. What happens when you put a Forest and a Leicester fan together? They just sit there and they just talk and talk and talk until one gives up. Goodbye. He's waving. He's off. Take care, Dave. Thanks very much for coming on. I'll let you know regarding the next date. My next date, unfortunately, it's not with a beautiful woman, is tomorrow night. And join us. Join us, please. It's myself. And what do we on Tuesday? It's the prediction show. It is not the Premier League prediction show. It's the World Cup prediction show. Me and Brad, we're going to try and go up against each other if I can work out how to do it on the screen. We might have to do them separately, but we're going to do our predictions for the World Cup and see where we go on that. And that's 9 o'clock tomorrow. So join us then. If you haven't subscribed, please do. If you're new, if you are subscribed, smash the likes button. It gets a mixed response, this show, because it's Forest and Leicester. We don't care. It's banter. And you know what? The good thing about having Forest back is it's great to have somebody to properly banter with. Forest was never, Villa was never proper for a banter, was it? Come on. You know, they're not rivals. Thanks very much to everybody. Please take care. Stay safe. Have a good night. I'm off to bed. And I will see you all tomorrow at 9 o'clock. Say good night, Foxy. There he is. Thanks very much. Take care, everybody. Good night.
That's all, folks.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.
Thanks for watching. These videos are tremendous. You better like them too, or I'll be back.
Leicester Till I